welcome back. If you didn't catch it, last time we were with Maddocks.
Mad Dog.
Yes, I know. Okay. I'm trying to use his call sign, obviously failing at it. But, you know, I'm pretty cool at not being in military at all. I love the military. I just have no training. So Mad Dog, Brian, Mad Dog Maddox.
You got it. There you go.
Okay. He is back, and we talked about self-responsibility, how not to panic when you're alone. And now we're going to go a little broader and talk about how to not panic as a team, how to develop your team, how to lead well, and actually empower in a team and a mid-level management and or parenting. We're going to apply it across the board. Ways that we can actually lead at a totally different level. Yeah. And I really like your model of that servant leadership. Can you describe what you mean by that?
Absolutely. So yeah, I can teach anybody leadership with one word. And that is to add the word servant in front of it. And once you get that in your head as a mindset, you really have everything you need to know at that point. And there's 3 steps to servant leadership. One, if you're asking someone to do something, be clear about what it is you're asking them to do exactly, and how that relates to the overall mission. So that purpose. One of the things that you'll see in corporate surveys is people who are maybe disgruntled at work. The number one thing that they have, their complaint is they don't know how what they do relates to the overall mission of the organization, yes. Right? And so they feel just kind of like, oh, I'm just coming in and checking a clock, punching a clock, right? Yeah. And what I do doesn't matter, right? And that's how you get a lot of turnover.
The Great Resignation.
The Great Resignation.
So one of our greatest needs is a sense of meaning and purpose. So if you don't tie that in to your work and or to your family, your kids maybe have emotionally resigned from your family. So we want to make sure that we're casting vision and we're clearly communicating it through repetition. We talked about before, that they know it and they feel tied to it. So that's a key. Sometimes lofty vision, and it doesn't feel like I'm personally tied to that, you don't get buy-in. So as he's talking, I want you to think for yourself, what is our vision as an organization, as a business, as a family? What team are you leading or influencing? Whether you have an official title or not is not important. What you want is to have the greatest impact for the greatest amount of people. So think of your vision, and then how you can start tying it in to help your team or your family, your organization feel like they are important, they're integral, they are essential for that vision to be accomplished.
Right, and for you to take your time, again, back to step 1 is clarity, providing that clarity and not only what they're doing, but why they're doing it, right? That's number 1. Number 2 in servant leadership is making sure that what they need to do it, right? And providing resources. If you ask somebody to do something, you've got to also give them the team, the money, the tools, whatever. We'll talk about SEAL teams here in a minute when we get to number 3.
My favorite.
And then step number 3 is unblocking them, right? Okay, you can give them all this, and then they get stuck. But now it's your job as a leader to elevate that and get that unstuck. So the example here is, everybody's familiar with SEAL teams. You've all seen the movies, right? So we're going to talk about that. So a team, and in the special operations org structure, and this applies to fighter pilot units as well, but just for familiarity, a SEAL team has everybody and everything they need to do a mission, right? So if I'm a SEAL commander and I send a team out on a mission, I tell them exactly what their mission is. They know exactly why they're doing it, and they've got all the people and all the gear to go and get it done.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a couple of very well-armed fighter jets or bombers or something, overhead. So if they get stuck, if something bad happens to them, those guys are going to roll in and help them out. So if they get stuck, I'm going to help them out, right? So there's the 3 steps of servant leadership: provide the clarity, provide the resources, and provide and unstick them.
That's so good. So have you seen that in your life, and what stories out of your plethora of being a former spy plane flying person, very accomplished, and I'm slaughtering it. You can see in his face. Anywho.
No, all of the above. It's fine.
So what story do you want to highlight this for us?
Well, so for this piece of it anyway, and we'll get into a little bit more detailed here in a minute of a really great example a servant leader that I had the opportunity to work with. But let me start at the top. The whole reason that I'm kind of getting into this world, into the speaking and coaching world, is because, look, when I was a 30-something-year-old fighter pilot, I was in charge. I had a $50 million fighter jet at my disposal. Not only that, I could be a 4-ship flight lead, and even from there, a strike package lead. So in an airborne mission commander role, and you're talking, 30-something-year-old, mid-30s people.
You can kill people. You can destroy property.
You've got fighter jets. You've got tanker aircraft. You've got spy planes. You've got people on the ground doing things. You've got reach back to intelligence sources, and everything is at your disposal in your early to mid 30s. And I had this.
Wow.
Right? As a 50-something mid-level manager, I've experienced myself, and I've heard many, many stories about, you got to go through all this process and bureaucracy to get issued a laptop, to get a small marketing budget for something that I was told to go do. Well, where's my money? Well, you got to come to me and request that.
So they're not empowering and they're not unsticking.
Train, equip, empower.
Yeah.
Right? So I need to train you for what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I need to equip you for what you want to do. And I need to empower you to go do it.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 steps. And so when you talk about, and this is where we're getting into this, right? So we get into the issue of the mid-level manager, which is where I'm coming at, is in the military, all of these missions are executed by 30-something-ish, late 20, 30-something-year-old-ish non-commissioned officers and junior or mid-level officers. The same thing as your mid-level manager level in a company or a corporation.
Sure.
Right? In the military, as a fighter pilot, I had all those things at my disposal, and I was making life and death split-second decisions. That was my job.
Yeah.
As a SEAL team, you've got a, captain major level, same thing as I was, making split-second life and death decisions, both for his own people and for the enemy as well. And in corporate, those people are not trained, equipped, and empowered. I like to use the example of engineers because I work a lot with engineers. And you might have an engineer that's a great engineer. Hey, you're a great engineer. You're doing awesome.
Thanks.
We're going to make you a manager. Okay.
Good.
You're a manager now.
Hope it works out.
Ready, set, go. You're not trained for it.
No.
You don't know what the tools are.
Right.
You don't know how to manage people. You know, basic manager skills.
The skills do not.
And then you have to report to somebody. You're usually not empowered. And you're not even empowered in your own mind.
Yeah.
Because you're just, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't make a decision because I just don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
In fact, I've been there when I first got out of the Air Force. I'm like, oh, I'm a fighter pilot. I can do anything. Well, my first job, frankly, I was terrible. Because I was not used to the corporate environment. I needed to get used to that. And again, there wasn't really a lot of training for me. It's like, here you go. Here's your job. Go do it.
Yeah.
So there needs to be that I feel anyway, and this is what I'm going after in my total engagement program, is let's build the competencies. What are the core competencies in that mid layer of the organization? This also applies to church groups. It applies to community organizations. It applies to parents.
Absolutely.
How much training do parents get?
Unless you go to Crawford Clinics.
To be great parents. There you go.
We will support you in your marriage, your family, and your child and adolescent therapy.
There you go.
I didn't mean that to be a commercial, but
perfect. That's the perfect place for it. So how do you do that? Right. And we talk about this mindset and servant leader mindset. I'm gonna give an example of one of the best leadership experiences I've ever experienced. And I was in the subordinate role.
Yeah.
So I was, in one of my assignments, I was an instructor pilot at Randolph Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, which is the seat of Air Education and Training Command. This is the big training command. They run everything training related in the Air Force. And the commander of Air Education and Training Command is a 4-star general. Now, to give you an idea what a 4-star general is, a 4-star general is basically 2 steps down from the President of the United States.
Wow.
A 4-star will report directly to the Chief of Staff of the Air Force. Chief of Staff reports essentially to the President.
Wow.
So that's his kind of power, right?
Okay.
And I was a 30-something. Let's see, this was Yeah, maybe 30, 32, 33 years old. And I'm his instructor pilot.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm in charge. So I'm in charge, right? I'm the boss here, right? So he comes down, he comes into our squadron and okay, we're going to fly.
Yeah.
And we flew his first mission. And part of flying an airplane, this guy's got thousands of hours, and he flew the hell out of the airplane. He flew beautifully. What he didn't do well was flip all the switches to turn the airplane on. So you guys, everybody's looked inside the cockpit of a. You see all the switches, and everybody's really intimidated by that. But there's a sequence where you turn all those things on and fire up all your instruments and get the motor started.
Okay.
And there's a what you call it, a checklist to follow to do that.
Yeah.
And he followed the checklist and one by one, and he turns it on. It took him, about 15 minutes to get the airplane started and get everything going. It should take 5, to do all that. So in the debrief, we come back from the mission, and this is another pilot thing. You always debrief, right? You plan your mission, you brief your mission, that provides that clarity, right? So we brief, we're clear on what we're doing. Then we go out and do it, and we come back and we debrief.
Yeah.
And you go back over the mission against what your plan was. Did we do everything? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What went right? What unforeseen circumstances happened? Maybe. And you review all of that. You actually spend more time debriefing than you do flying if you're doing it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's that OODA loop that we talked. That's that OODA loop that we talked about last time.
Watch the previous episode.
That's the OODA loop. That's the orientation phase. So we're in the debrief, and I'm like, sir, that was great. Fantastic pilot. What am I going to say to this guy? Right? So, sir, the only thing I got for you is that your ground ops were a little slow. So if I can give you any critique at all, kind of go work on the checklist and just get a little faster next time. 4-star general, right?
That was gold.
4-star general.
That's a lot.
This is what I tell this guy. So about a week later, he comes down to fly again. Right? I'm his IP. I'm the guy that flies with him. Get in a jet and he's just boom, 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 boom.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. And we're off and we're going and off we go and we go fly and I get back in it. We get back into the debrief room and I'm like, sir, man, ground ops, perfect. And he's like, yeah, my instructor pilot gave me a bunch of grief about that last time. 4-star general, like ribbing me about critiquing him. But that was my job. That's
actually
there was so much goodness in that moment. He took his rank off. He wasn't a general at that point.
Yeah.
He was my student at that point, and that was all in good fun. I didn't feel bad about that at all. It was my job to critique him and make him better.
Yeah.
Make him faster, make him better. And he took that as a 4-star general, and that's leadership.
Yes.
That's servant leadership. That is, I was his instructor. That was the role at that point. And you translate that into the best. Again, my best analogies are usually business analogies. But you take that and you translate to if I'm a team leader, and my VP or my president comes in and says, "What do you need?" and I tell him, I'm like, "Sir, this is messed up. We need this. Blah blah blah. This is going right. This is going wrong."
Yeah.
His job is not to, the company needs to save money. No, his job is to go fix it.
Yes.
Unstick it.
Oh, yes.
Boom. Unstick it.
Yes.
That's leadership. And that's what General Cook did for me. He unstuck that.
Good.
He's like, yep. He took it.
Yeah.
He took the critique and he came back and he did it better the next time.
Yeah. And I'm writing articles on this right now because I think culturally as leaders, it's hard because we have an overcorrection where we have been tough love and just stuff it. I don't know why my analogies are not coming, but it's just like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, like toughen up. And now we have an overcorrection where everything is so nice and you can't hurt people's feelings and you can't give feedback because everything is a potential lawsuit and a shame trigger reaction. So I think leaders in this space are really struggling to not fall in one of those ditches to actually hold space for candid feedback that connects people to reality, which is what we had talked about last time, and actually is said with so much kindness and warmth. So you spoke to the general not like a sarcastic underling, like, you're a loser at this. Like you had honor and respect for his position, but you still gave honest, reality-based feedback.
Exactly.
That's hard. How did you do that?
I feel like the middle way that you were talking about is the word for me anyway, and this may resonate, is professionalism. It's look, we are here to accomplish a mission. We are here to do a task.
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about us feeling good about each other. It's about getting the mission done.
Yeah.
And I think that's where companies, families, organizations, you have to keep the mission and the purpose and the task
It's good.
in front of, out forward. Because if we're all talking about that and we're not talking about how much we disagree with each other,
Like each other, don't like each other, approve,
like each other or don't like each other.
endorse. Yeah.
Right. And we're talking about the task and how to get the task done, and what our purpose is, and creating that higher level of purpose and I use the word mission. You know, now we have something more objective we can all talk about it, and it's not about you and it's not about me. It's about getting that done.
Yeah, that's
accomplishing that mission or that task.
Yeah. And I appreciate that about the military, that I think the private sector can learn a lot.
Absolutely.
Because the mission is out here and you're doing it because we are on the same team with the same objective. I think out here it gets very muddled, and then leaders lose their way because their compass is not set to the mission. It's set to try to coddle everybody's feelings because they're afraid the hurt people, the squeaky wheel, are going to create chaos. And so they're managing people's emotions and reactions rather than going after the task. How do we stay in that professional space in this generation?
I think you focus on the task. And this is something, again, I've experienced. I feel like we have one of the things I'm trying to address with my total engagement program is I feel like we have managers aren't managing, or managers don't know how to manage.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, and so managers, everything I just said, I'm repeating myself.
Yeah.
But creating that competency at a manager level such that the manager understands, like, look, we're focused on the task. My job isn't to coddle people. And some people think it is, you know, they don't know what they're supposed to do as a manager. Maybe they think they're supposed to coddle people.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and for people to like you.
And like you.
That's a danger.
But no, it's the task, it's the clarity, it's the intent, it's the mission. And if you keep all that front and center and focus for everyone, then you accomplish that. The other thing I'll say, this gets a little bit back to the last time, but something we were chatting about earlier is the Scrum technique. Okay, and not necessarily important what that is, but what that is, it's an iterative process. You're checking in with your team every day. You have short-term tasks, 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe a month at the maximum, but we have very well-defined tasks within a very short time period, and we're checking in with each other every day.
Wow.
It's not the quarterly review where you sit down with your employee. You're interacting with those people every day. You're finding out how they're doing, what they're stuck on, because my job doesn't stick them.
That's right.
Right. And then we're interacting every day. So I learn your strengths, your weaknesses, the good, the bad. And we're constantly focused on the task and what we're trying to get done together.
Yeah, it's good.
Together. And it's all about purpose and mission and staying on that and creating the vehicles, again, Scrum being one of them. Any kind of an iterative problem-solving process to keep people engaged and engage with their leadership, or at least their team lead, every day. And again, that's why team leads are so important. Parents, leaders. Again, I'm using the corporate analogy, but it applies to everything. It applies to everything.
Yeah,
it's the interaction and the work, doing work together, doing purposeful work together.
Yeah.
And not just, hey, go do this, or, go do your homework.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Right? No, being there to help with the homework.
Yeah. Providing that scaffolding.
Exactly. And not, hey, I'm going to check your homework, and being there. That's what I did with my son when he was younger.
Yeah.
And being interactive. And I think people use the word accountability. Humans need accountability. They're not going to just do things on their own. And the way I look at it is accountability is actually caring. If you're holding someone accountable, you're showing that you actually care about them. Accountability is not a bad word.
Yeah.
Accountability is a really good word. Because if you're providing that accountability, you're spending time and energy checking up on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're really showing caring in that regard.
I love that. And when people feel cared about, they're more tied into your vision. They feel like there's meaning and purpose, and there's more synergy in your group.
Exactly.
Or alignment.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we asked you to write your vision. So it's your family, your organization, your business, your community group or PTA, whatever you're leading or having some level of influence. And sometimes you lead up. So you may not have the title, but you could be a leader and help create that culture in your organization or group. So just remember your intent of what you're trying to communicate as a parent, as a leader, an influencer is not always the impact. So you have to circle back. You have to observe the impact, recognize, is the message I'm trying to convey actually having the motivation, the energy, the engagement that I'm wanting? If not, then ask clarifying questions. Many times we do too much mind reading. And so we're like, oh, they're just disrespectful. They just don't care about me. Instead of, hey, I've noticed there's been less engagement, or I've noticed I haven't seen your eyes lighting up as much. I'm just checking in. How are you? What's going on for you? Hey, this is our vision. I want to make sure you see your role as valuable in that. Am I doing a good job communicating that? Is there any feedback? Is there any way that I can offer a different camera angle to make sure you feel tied into it? And in full transparency, I am a leader. So I just had such an ironic conversation yesterday with my team leader who is supposed to project manage. And I am positivity, who is like, it's fine. We'll just hand you this one, and then no follow-up, no check-in, no unstickness. And so I just want to put it out there that like, we're all in this. You can know something, and until it's brought to your attention, you will still have a blind spot, even though you know it theoretically. So back to the general, who is super impressive, that he was willing to say, I'm able to see blind spots. So in your life, do you allow space for your kids, for your team, for the people around you to give candid feedback without giving them the silent treatment? Or just kind of emotionally withdrawing or lashing out or passive aggressive ways to communicate, I'm mad at you. Many of those reactions are actually super unconscious. We don't realize we're doing it. So that's why we want to do an internal board meeting. I highly recommend that you go to crawfordclinics.com and check out our e-courses. There's webinar that's free, and then you can find out all the resources to really take your leadership from the inside out to peak performance. We're invested in you on our platform to unlock you for peak performance. We love you guys, and we'll see you for the next episode. Bye.